Everybody, it's Dakota, and today I'm going to be coming at you with another modern deck. This one is kind of interesting because this is a deck that we saw when Hogak was legal in the format, and it was a way to basically just get underneath of it, deal a ton of damage early, and then by the time that they were able to go up the board, like you were just able to either burn them out or just make things like so big that they couldn't really effectively block, even though a lot of the things couldn't block anyway. And now it's kind of seeing a resurgence now that we're seeing the Amulet Titan decks take over the modern format. So without further ado, we're going to start talking about Mono Red Blitz, super fast, lightning fast combo red aggro deck. Doing a lot of cool things, a lot of powerful things for being mono red. So really diving into it, the creatures are kind of what makes this deck really nuts. So you have eight one drop prowess creatures in Monastery Swiftspear. Swiftspear mainly having haste, Soul Scar Mage putting -1/-1 counters on your opponent's creatures whenever they're dealt non-combat damage, which works really well when you're casting cards like Lava Dart and Lightning Bolt. Just really kind of like knock down those bigger creatures so you're able to like power through, and can also make taking down a Titan a lot easier and not just straight up dying to a Titan either. And the fact that it gets bigger too can also make it like trade or either trade up in combat or survive combat with like a Lightning Bolt or even like a Lava Dart. Um, Runaway Steamkin is just a way that you can just keep piling up the cards and everything. With playing cards like Light Up the Stage, where you essentially get to draw two for like one red mana. Manamorphose is essentially a free spell. You have to pay 2 mana to cast it, and if it resolves, you get the mana back. And you get to draw a card, which is like the important thing from it. And it's technically red, so Steamkin does get counters. This is kind of like a card where you can just start casting a bunch of spells. Where like if you just like get Steamkin up to a 4, hit for 4, and then start removing counters and just like casting a bunch of other spells, or like attacking for 4 and then just like casting Manamorphose into a Lava Dart, into Flashback a Lava Dart. Now you have 3 counters on Runaway Steamkin. So he's back up to a 4. You've drawn a card, you've dealt 2 damage to your opponent for essentially no mana, and you still have 2 mana floating after that, which is pretty nuts that this deck could do something like that, and it can do it as early as like turn 3, which again is kind of insane. Bedlam Reveler is another prowess creature. This time it's pretty big, and while most of the time it's you want it to be like a 2 mana 3/4 that discards and then draws 3, a lot of the times with how fast this deck can empty its hand, like this could be like a 3 mana 3/4, or the 2 mana 3 mana 3/4, or 2 mana 3/4 that just draws you 3 cards, which again is really good and also really hard to deal with, especially with like prowess and things like that. And if you can combine it with like Soul Scar Mage or Swift Spear, where like this is getting bigger, but then like if they're blocking this, then like the Swift Spear is like just 2 points smaller than it, which the kind of reach that this deck has and everything kind of makes it pretty hard to just block a singular threat and hope that you're going to be okay. Going and moving to like the rest of the spells, Crash Through is definitely your best friend in this deck, especially with all your prowess creatures. Like we were talking about with like Steamkin, where you're able to like cast a bunch of red spells, and like some of your red spells are free in Manamorphose. Other ones just deal a ton of damage, like Lightning Bolt, Lava Spike, Lava Dart, things like that. Lava Dart, especially being essentially like 2 red spells for 1 red mana, because sacrificing the land kind of doesn't matter in this deck because you only really need like 2, sometimes 3 mana if you're going to cast Light Up the Stage, hard cast Light Up the Stage. But if you have a Lava Dart, obviously it won't matter because you're more than likely going to be able to Spectacle the Light Up the Stage. Crash Through, like those turns that we were talking about where you can cast like 4, 5, 6 spells in a turn, which with a Runaway Steamkin is very, very possible. You know, you have 7 to 6 different prowess triggers, plus you have Trample that Crash Through gives your creatures. So essentially, like if you go like Swift Spear on 1, attack for 1, and then you go Steamkin on 2, and then you play like Manamorphose, Crash Through, Lava Dart, and then remove counters, and then like Lava Spike, Lightning Bolt, Flashback Dart, remove mana, and then like light up the stage into another Lightning Bolt. You know, right there, like doing some really quick math, your opponent feels like they're dead. Because even if they can block your creatures, like you've cast 6 spells, so the Monastery Swift Spear is a 7/8 Steamkin is still a 4/4, so that's 11 damage plus the two from playing in flashing back lava dart, plus playing a lava spike and like a lightning bolt. It's not totally far fetched to where like you have draws where you can kill your opponent on turn 3, and it's not like this is like a nut hand. I mean, it kind of is, but also kind of isn't. When like a lot of your spells like crash through cantrips, burst lightning is a damage spell, lava darts essentially two free spells, for or a free spell on one half and then one red mana for the other half of it. Lava Spike's 3 damage. Lightning Bolt's 3 damage. Manamorphose is a free red spell that draws you a card. Light Up the Stage essentially draws you 2 cards. This deck kind of prides itself on that, where like it's a lot of one red mana spells to where you can remove the counters from Steamkin and easily put the counters back on it. And if you ever have to spend more than 2 mana, it's really bad for your opponent because you're either getting a free spell or you're drawing 3 cards. Pretty good, I would say, in this deck. As far as the lands, obviously 18 lands because you're playing a bunch of 1 and 2 drops essentially. I mean, you're technically playing an 8, but like Bedlam Reveler is almost never an 8. It's always usually like a 2, 3, maybe a 4. But still, nonetheless, like very castable with just 18 lands. 2 Fiery Islet and 3 Sunbaked Canyon are the lands. Uh, I'm not exactly sure why 3 and 2, why not 4 and 1, whatever. I'm sure someone smarter than me knows exactly why. Maybe because your opponent can get thrown off by an islet, get thrown off by Sunbaked Canyon. But mainly these just add red mana and then draw a card later if you need an extra card. 13 mountains because obviously we want mountains for lava dart because that's the way we flash it back is by sacrificing a mountain. And it is non-painful red mana as well. So I'm sure 13. If you don't have any islets or the islets or sunbaked canyons, you can always just replace those with mountains, and those are fine. Just playing some number of those canopy lands is kind of important because they can just draw you cards later. The sideboard, because this is the fun part. Bone Crusher Giant, sure, red card. Blood Moon, great against Titan. The Anger of the Gods, like basically crash through your way to beat through tons of creatures, but like if you obviously can't beat through a ton of creatures, then you have to get rid of them somehow. Anger of the Gods is just a way that you can wipe your opponent's board. With your prowess creatures, like you could cast a spell, get them up to a 2/3, and then cast Anger of the Gods. They're 3/4. They survive the Anger of the Gods, and then you sweep your opponent's board. A Shining Burden Rage is a way that you can just stack a ton of counters by casting all those red spells. Like, again, Steamkin is just really insane in this deck, and I don't think he's supposed to be like the main focus of the deck. I mean, like playing your prowess creatures and just like being able to cast like bolt, 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 and then get like 3, 4 prowess triggers in a turn is kind of where you want to be at with this deck. But like Steamkin is just so nuts when you can have turns where you cast 6, 7 red spells in a turn, still have a 4/4, and then you can crack Shrine of Burning Rage to just 8 your opponent like almost at any moment. Like you don't even have to do it like right then. You just boom, dome your opponent for 8 after you've cast like 6 or 7 spells. Like if they're not dead, you're either doing something wrong or they're a terrible person, or they just prayed to whatever mythical being or god or whatever the heck you want to call it, that they just survive, which is amazing. Dragon's Claw is good against burn and in the mirror because obviously if your opponent's casting red spells and you're gaining life and you're turning lightning bolts into shocks and you're turning burst lightnings into like really bad lava darts and lava darts don't matter, that's pretty good in the mirror matches. Also against burn, turning their 3 damage burn spells into 2 damage burn spells while yours are still 3 damage burn spells, but then you're also gaining life on top of it is pretty good. So Dragon's Claw, pretty sweet. Surgical Extraction, graveyard decks. Dredge is coming back. The Urza decks have evolved back into, or devolved, would probably be a better term. Devolved back into the Thopter Sword combo, as far as like how they're playing and everything. So Surgical Extraction definitely gets a lot better as we move forward if the Dimir Urza decks are going to continue to be a thing. And that's going to do it for Mono Red Blitz in Modern. Deck is awesome. It's pretty cheap. It's, as you can see, it's like less than $200 on Moto. $260, like, and that's only if you have any of these things. And the most expensive cards in the deck really are the Blood Moons, the Surgicals, and like the Sunbaked Canyon and Fiery Islet. But like you get like these, if you have these, I would recommend just getting these, like Surgical Extraction. Like there is other cards you can replace with it, but Surgical is technically the least restrictive card that you can play, because it only costs you 2 life. You can play it at instant speed, and you can play it on turn 1 or turn 0. And then Blood Moon just kind of really beats up on the Titan deck, so I don't think there's any card that you play in the spot. Like Blood Sun is a card that like you could maybe play, but like it doesn't stop them from making hasty Titans and going and getting lands. But it does stop their bounce lands, albeit making them a little bit better. So Blood Moon definitely is technically the better choice, but like if budget is a concern, like Blood Sun is a card that you could try. Just it's going to probably lead to some very middling results, in my opinion. So that's gonna do it for this video for modern mono red Blitz. Too many M's. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more modern videos and just more deck techs in general, I have all the 3 formats that I mainly do all set into playlists. I'm gonna start setting all the older videos into those playlists. But for now, I have like a decent amount of modern. We're gonna be doing Pioneer and Standard shortly. Um, Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy. Really support. We kind of, I'm gonna say, blew up in the fact that we got like a ton of views just last month. So it's like very exciting, and looking forward to hopefully continuing that success into February. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me. I appreciate you guys watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.